All right. Well, welcome to all of our folks who are watching this lovely recording. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we are talking about Missouri Green Schools and how to get to the Sprout level. This is our second level of achievement, and we're going to go through some of the requirements and ways to get to this level. Oops, I'm sorry about this. Give me one second. There we go. All right, so tonight or today we'll go through some introductions, some requirements, upcoming events, and then there will be a Q&A at the end. If you are watching this recording and you have questions, feel free to email me. My email will be at the top of the screen, and I'll also email out this slide deck and the recording of this presentation as well. So always reach out with questions. All right, so these are our schools who are currently enrolled who are either brand new to the program, so they don't have a level, or they are the schools who are currently seed level schools, which is level one. And so all of these schools are now eligible to become Sprout level. So if you're on this list, congrats, welcome, you're in good company. We've got some great schools across the entire state of Missouri here. Public, private, charter, big, small, lots of money, no money. We've got it all. So we're really excited about the diversity of our schools, and really excited that we are expanding our reach through new communities and communities that we've been in for a very long time. Just a reminder that this lovely link here for MGS school resources, this will take you to a lot of great resources, and that's kind of the catch-all folder for our schools who need access to how-to guides or just the logistics of our program or any of the recordings for our sessions. So if you miss anything, it's always right there. If you need something that you cannot find, please email me, call me, text me. This is my email address and my cell phone number. So feel free. Texting is so easy, especially for those of you who are teachers, and we know that your schedule is extremely inflexible. So if you just need to send off a quick text, I'm not offended by that at all. Doesn't, it's actually pretty easy for me too. All right, this next slide, this link at the top will take you to your school status. So if you're a little bit confused about, well, we were in this program for a while and I don't even know what level I'm at, feel free to click through and see if it's accurate. And if you're missing anything, please email me and let me know. But it will tell you what we have documentation for so far. So especially if you are a teacher or a staff person who is new to this program in your building, you might be the person taking over for somebody who's retired or who has moved schools, and you're just not sure where you're at. Feel free to take a look at your current status, and it should give you an idea of where your school is at. So today we're going to talk about what it takes to become a Sprout school. Currently, Parkway North High School and the Summit Prep School, those are seed schools that are applying to Sprout on July 1st. And then that highlighted section at the top, I want to make sure people know that any school without a level is also able to apply for Sprout. Even if you have not achieved seed level yet, you can, as long as you've done everything in the seed level, you can still apply for one or two levels above where you're at. So we'll go through each of these requirements with a fine-tooth comb. The first one is you have to do everything that SEED requires, and that's level one. Second, you have to designate a person for START and data entry, and we'll talk about what START is in a moment. You have to complete the START survey, and then you have to pick one of two options. Either you need to form a green team, or you need to start measuring your consumption of water, waste, or energy and document it using Energy Star benchmarking. Once you get this level, a couple of benefits. The big one here is that you are eligible to apply for a MIA Environmental Educator Grant. So this level comes with some available funding, which is really exciting, and it's just a really exciting time to be a part of MIA and MGGBC because we're the local people and we are not always tied to some of those federal funding cuts that are happening. So the first thing that we need to do is make sure you have met all of the SEED level one criteria. The first is signing that letter of commitment. The second is completing the Missouri Green Schools baseline self-assessment. The third is identifying a sustainability goal using the START metrics. And once all of those things have been turned in, then you are eligible to apply for the next level. There is at the bottom a link here for an entire presentation on how to achieve those specific criteria. So if you are one of those schools that is newly enrolled or just doesn't have a level yet, and you have not achieved any of these things yet, I highly recommend going back and seeing MGS Learning Series uh, 101, How to Achieve Seed Level. And that's linked right there at the bottom. Okay, so once you've gotten through all of your seed requirements, you can start in on the sprout requirements. The first one is to designate somebody who's going to work in START, the Sustainability Tracking Analytics and Roadmap tool. START is an amazing program that allows you as a school to determine where you need to go, how you need to get there, and basically what tools are at your disposal in order to take on some of these sustainability initiatives. You get to track your progress, and it's forever data, so you get to just keep going for year after year. There's no timeline on it, there's no deadline on it. START is a very user-friendly interface where it's a website that you click through and you make sure that you're kind of doing what you need to do, and it helps give you some direction. So the first thing you need to do is just email to me that person who's going to be your main contact. They will receive a training on how to use START and how to put data into the school. You also get to, if you would like, if you want students to have access to the START tool, you can also get students into the system, which is really amazing, especially if you have middle or high school students who are pretty data driven and who understand how to use an interface like this. Often our high schools and our middle schools have students put all of the data in themselves. So it takes something off of a teacher's plate and also gives students a pretty amazing learning opportunity. Once you are set up with your account in START, you will be able to take the START survey. There's three areas of the START survey: educational programming, physical place, and organizational culture. Some hints here, or some helpful tips, is to take each area at a time so that you don't get overwhelmed by the START survey, because it's basically like a much larger version of the baseline self-assessment and asks much greater detail about each of these topics. The educational programming topic is really about the academic integration of environmental ed into whatever you're teaching. It might be through a class curriculum, it might be through before and after school clubs, it might even be through just staff development. But educational programming is going to get down into nitty-gritty metrics on what you are doing and how you're doing it. Physical place, this area is all about the building itself, the actual physical building. And this area is a little bit trickier if you are a classroom teacher to answer these questions, because you just might not know the information. And that's perfectly acceptable. A lot of the answers to the physical place questions are going to come from a custodian, a school administrator like a principal or an assistant principal, or somebody at a little bit higher level if you have a district facilities manager, or a buildings and grounds team, perhaps. They have more technical answers to these more technical questions. And then finally, the organizational culture is really about how do you integrate sustainability into your day-to-day operations. And so this is much more, it's more focused on not so much the classroom, but how students use the building, how teachers use the building, and how the building gets used on weekends or before and after school, that kind of thing. If you can't answer a question, you can always leave it blank. And if you can't figure out who to ask for the right information, just send me an email. As you guys know, I'm a former principal and a former teacher. And when I was filling this out for my school as a principal, there were a lot of questions I did not know the answer to. Mostly because, guess what? Educators were not trained in school building sustainability. At least I wasn't when I was going to college a long time ago. So, um, I had to ask for a lot of help in answering these questions, and I had to find the right people. And most of the time, it's just a matter of understanding how your district or school functions and who has the answers to each question. This is an example of what the START survey looks like. At the top here, you see these colorful little bands. They light up in a specific color once you've answered a question. So each of these blocks represent a question. Once you click on one, such as this educational events beyond the classroom, you can rank your school on a tier level. Tier one, for this particular question, my school holds at least one event related to sustainability each year, such as an assembly, a fair, or a summit with students as the intended audience. Great. Click that one, yes. Or if your school holds two events, then you would go to tier two. Or if your school holds three events, you would go to tier three. Um, each question is a little bit different, but the tiers are the same no matter what. There's always a tier one, tier two, and tier three for each question. And basically, it's asking you, how sustainable are you for a specific topic? These little links up at the top, you will always get more information here or on the blue band, which unfortunately I've cut off here at the bottom that says learn more. These layers at the top here, they'll help you connect this specific metric to the UN Sustainability Development Goals, which is extremely helpful to give you context on why this goal is important and how it relates to what the world is doing to become more sustainable. But the blue Learn More button at the bottom is unbelievably helpful. I use it almost every single day, even now in this job, to really get some technical assistance on either what they're asking for or how to achieve it. Let's say you click on something in the educational band that is really interesting to you and your school doesn't do it. If you click on the Learn More button, it will not only tell you what it is, but it'll also help you learn how to achieve it. It's a pretty amazing tool and it's just very user friendly. So I highly recommend this exciting opportunity for you and for your students because it's so student friendly that they can access this information. All right, your final requirement is either one of two options, either forming a green team or starting to measure water, waste, and energy. If you decide to go to the green team route, you really just need three or more folks on your green team. And that could include staff members, students, it could include custodial members, it could include your administrators. Parents are a great option. Even people from your district or higher up level staff, maybe an assistant superintendent or buildings and grounds facility managers. I for sure would recommend community partners because they help fund things, which is very exciting. We all need money in schools, so community partners are great to include and incorporate into a green team. And then most importantly on a green team are students. Students are the key to keeping a movement going in schools. Even though students change every single year and sometimes students come and go and you feel like you're starting over, when students are involved, your school district, your school board, your principal, everybody is much more likely to keep the work going when they know that students want to be a part of it. If you're having trouble recruiting members, I would suggest using this hyperlinked What's in It for Me guide. It goes person or title by title, and it really gives them a guide as to why would I care about a green team? Why do I care about school sustainability? How does that help me? Because sometimes when you're asked to join a committee, you think, I don't have time to do my regular job, let alone be on a committee. But here, if you can help them understand that this is a really exciting opportunity to sometimes take work off their plates and make their days easier or make it a more fun experience for their students, they can get more engaged. So for sure, check out that guide if you're having trouble recruiting members. Also, if you are having a specific problem at your school, getting people interested or invested or getting them to stay, please reach out to me. This was a hilarious problem of mine because I worked in a school where we had not just teacher turnover because people, came and went. We had a lot of district structural changes. And so often I would get somebody in place and they'd be really excited about, taking on the school garden that year. And then suddenly their position would be moved to a different school in the district. So there goes my garden guru. So I dealt with this every single year and came up with quite a few systems and mechanisms to recruit and to retain members. One great way to establish an effective team is to identify a role for each team member. Give somebody a title. I think it's really important, and not just from like an ego standpoint. I mean, from a purpose standpoint. Give them the idea that they have to be there. We need you. And it's true that you do. You really do need different voices, and you need people to step up and to take on different roles. And because we all have different strengths, it's really important to cater to those strengths and interests. If somebody is great at social media campaigns and is really active in communications, let them be the communications czar. We really want people to get invested, and usually you can do that by playing to their strengths. It's really important to put students in leadership roles whenever possible, mostly because they need the experience. They need to know that they're valued and that their voice is heard. And this is an awesome thing for them to be able to put on their resumes, especially for high school students who are looking for ways to actively enhance their college essays or their job applications. We really want to give them opportunities to shine and to show that they are part of this future workforce that is extremely green focused. There's another hyperlinked document here called the Educator Advocacy Toolkit. And it's a longer document, but there is a very specific section in there that helps define roles on a green team. And I really recommend taking a look at that and using some of those definitions for your green team. It's always important with any club, committee, etc., to establish a regular meeting time, but it has to be a regular meeting time that works within your school schedule. For some of you, that might mean you meet quarterly. For some of you, it might mean we only meet in the summer and we do one giant planning session. For some of you, it might mean we meet every month or every week, or we meet during our planning periods or our staff meetings. You have to find what works for you. And as a program, we don't dictate that. We want to make sure that this is a flexible program that works for your school and for your needs. It's also really important to develop specific goals and a timeline to meet the goals. Um, Having a goal for green school team is really helpful because sometimes sustainability can become very nebulous. Like, I just want to help the environment. It's kind of like wishing for world peace. It's not particularly specific, and we really want people to feel like they're achieving something and they're accomplishing something, which they will be. So, giving them specific goals is extremely important. And I've got a few resources on the next slide for that. But one way to make the timeline work for you is to use events that already exist. Let's say your school has an Earth Day festival. What a wonderful time for your green team to have an event attached to another event that's already in existence, or an important school event, dances, family nights, that kind of thing. Anything that really allows you to not create more work for yourself. Just join into an event that already exists and develop a timeline around a goal that could fit in that event. And then finally, it's really important to create a communications plan for your students, staff, families, district, and community. And I would really recommend using multiple forms of communication, meaning, send out a flyer or an email, or if you guys use Class Dojo, message your parents, use your social media campaigns, do something that your school and your whole school community and all of its stakeholders know what you're doing. It's also a great way to hold your committee accountable because if you say you're going to do something and the public knows about it, it's important that you follow through. Finally, or I'm sorry, this lovely slide, it goes into a little bit more details about maintaining a green team. So instead of just recruiting constantly, you want to keep the people that have signed up. One really easy way to do that, just from a psychological standpoint, is celebrating your successes. People need to feel like they have accomplished something. That is just a basic rule of human nature. And so it's important to celebrate both internally as a green team, but also publicly and acknowledge that people and students and educators have done something special because you have. It's an extra thing outside of your regular duties, and it's really important for the planet and for your district to save money, become more efficient, and not waste. Keeping students at the forefront of your green team will also help maintain that team. As I said, people, especially school boards and district officials, they're a lot easier to convince of something when students are the ones involved. That will also naturally draw in their families, and parents have a lot of voice and power. And to really harness that power is to make sure their students are in the forefront. These are two resources that I mentioned on the last slide, making goals that are both achievable and important to your school. I've got two hyperlinked little pieces here. The Smart Start goal template is a way for you to just kind of focus your conversations on how to create a goal around school sustainability. And then that second link is an example page with several examples that are around the START goals. And then finally, for your green team, you always want to keep recruiting. I know it's annoying and I know it's difficult, and at some point you're just tired. I really do get it. I did that a lot. So at some point you just want to give up, but I really recommend having a plan in place, a transition plan for when people are going to leave. I always recommend that or ask that the team members that are leaving that they find their own replacement before they exit. And so you might say, if you do want to, leave the green team, we're sad to see you go, but give us a couple months notice and help us find your replacement before you leave. I always would ask your principal to include it in your orientation for both students and new staff members so that everybody knows that it's available to them. And I would also ask administration for time during staff meetings or professional development sessions, and especially at back to school time, where teachers are a lot more engaged and excited to sign up for something new. I would really ask your principal or your district to say, hey, we would like to give a presentation on the sustainability measures that we are taking on, and we need help. It's a really great way to get people to sign up. And then the final piece of advice here for recruiting is you should always make sure that somebody knows what you're asking of them before they sign up for a green team and make it as light a lift as possible. So don't tell them, okay, we need you on the green team because we need you to plan 19 events and they're all going to be labor intensive and we don't have any resources. No, instead, you just be very specific about where you're at and give them a small, simple task that you need help with. I would always recommend keeping your lift light, both for yourself and for new members. All right, if you decide not to go the green team route and you decide instead you're going to go for measuring water, waste, or energy, I'm going to go through a few tips and tricks here, but I do highly recommend coming to the much, much more in-depth session called MGS 301, Energy, Waste, and Water Audits. This event is taking place on April 22nd, also at 3 p.m. And of course, we will be recording it and sending it out. But I want to encourage you, if this is the route you would like to go, this particular session today, I'm going to go over a wide overview. But on April 22nd, we're bringing in experts from the field, and they will help really get down into the technical details of water, waste, and energy. But for today, let's do a little bit of an overview. The very first and most important tool for tracking and measuring your water, waste, or energy is getting connected to the STAR Energy Portfolio Manager. I know this is a little confusing, but we have START with a T at the end, and we have STAR. The START with a T is much more about all whole school sustainability measures. The Star Energy Portfolio Manager is specific to tracking your utilities. It's free to sign up and to get an account, and most of your school districts probably already use this service. So first, before you do anything, you should always ask your district facilities manager if your school or district already uses the Star Energy Portfolio Manager. And if they say yes, ask if you can add your account to the school so that you can see all of the bills coming through. If they're not using it, which is totally fine, they might even be using some other portfolio manager. But if they're not using anything, you should ask them if you can create the Star Energy account and get a copy of the utility bills in order to input into the Star Energy account. A little asterisk here. Your school might have a trash or recycling or compost service that measures the weight of waste for you, but a lot of the companies do not do that. So if your companies do not measure the weight of your waste, This Star Energy Portfolio Manager will help you estimate based on the size of your dumpsters and how frequently your trash is removed. This is a great project for students to take on because they can help you figure out the amount of trash that you're taking to the landfill and the amount of trash that you are diverting from the landfill. This page is really for those of you who have taken on the slides and are watching this as a recording. There are so many hyperlinked resources here. First, these at the top are all about the Star Energy Portfolio Manager. So once you get an account and really get settled into it and can get access to your school utility bills, then these are all of your how-tos basically. But there's also two other resources that I want to point out. The second section is energy resources. So this is specifically to energy usage. And there is a lot of information here in this K-12 energy checklist. I highly, highly recommend taking a look at that. And then this free webinar for educators to learn about energy tracking is extremely helpful just for a basic how-to guide. Finally, this resource here, the Show Me Green Schools Resource Library. This is an online library that I curated. It's just a series of links and documents and portfolios. You have access to the entire thing, but I want to make sure that you know there is a specific page for energy, water, and waste. So I've hyperlinked that here. These links change all the time. I change this resource every single day. And right now, I'm currently trying to clean up all of the federal websites that are now no longer there. So if you hit a few links that are outdated or just no longer exist, I promise you I'm on it. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get rid of those links. But I do try and update this every single day and add to it every single day. All right, specifically, let's talk about water. The first thing is you will need to know if your school or district tracks water usage. Not every school district does. So if they don't, you just need to ask them for a copy of the water utility bills. And the further back that you can go, the better. If they haven't kept any old utility bills, that's okay. You can start from that day. It's no problem at all. It's just if they have their old bills, it'll already give you a leg up on tracking your trends. Those trends that we're looking for are really you're looking for high usage times because that's where you want to attack first. It might indicate that you have a massive leak in your building. You actually could be doing your district a huge favor by finding a leak. That actually happened in my own personal home where our water bill spiked and it turned out that it was a leak and we were just overpaying for water and wasting a lot of water. So, looking for trends is really important. It's also important to understand that on a school campus and in any building, any industrial building or corporate building, there will always be an incredible number of sources of water. Three important ones for you as a school is you want to make sure you know the difference between potable water, which is something that you can drink, non-potable water, which you cannot drink, not safe to drink at all, and on-site alternative water, which is anything basically that's kind of this extra water source. And it's something like catching the rainwater in your school garden or the water that goes into, if you have a washing machine on your school campus, even as simple as how much condensation comes off of your HVAC system. You're going to take all of this information and establish a water use baseline because the goal here eventually is right now you want to measure and eventually we want you to reduce. So you need to know how much you use as a baseline in order to know that you are actually reducing that usage. This walkthrough checklist here on water is a really great way for you to do this with students or staff members as a team. Your green team could do this, or a group of students could do it. It's a really fun way. It's almost like a scavenger hunt, except it's a little bit more professional than that. But really, you want to go through and do a true survey and an audit of how your building uses water. And then again, in the resource library, we have an entire folder just for water resources. All right, measuring waste. Like I said, some of your trash collection service companies will provide volume estimates, but not all of them. If they don't, that's perfectly fine. You will be able to calculate it based on the dumpster size, the how much of the dumpster is full and how often the pickups happen per month. This is another awesome project for students to do. This is a basic math lesson, and it's a great data lesson and understanding how to track and see trends. You'll also see there at in schools in particular, there are always incredibly heavy pickup months. You can, I'm sure, guess there are times of the year where you clean out. Everybody does that spring cleaning at the end of the year, and you're getting rid of stuff, or you're getting rid of entirely giant boxes of old curriculum. Or you might have had a parent event where you had a lot of food waste, something like that. So the trends will be very, very obvious with waste. You can alternatively track individual classroom trash, recycling, or compost, but it's a little bit trickier, and you usually need to have the whole school buy into that. So if you're a teacher who's like, I'm the only one doing this work, and my teachers do not want to talk about trash, that's okay. I think it's actually easier to go for a cafeteria waste audit. And you don't have to audit every day, all day long. You could pick a few times throughout the school year or monthly to just kind of figure out where your waste streams are and calculating a excuse me, an annual average based on those numbers. There are two resources here in particular. The Guide to Cafeteria Waste Auditing. This is the most obvious resource on earth. It will literally take you on a how-to, step-by-step, how to audit your cafeteria waste. This one right here is from the EPA, and I am worried that it will disappear soon. So this is, with a couple asterisks by it. Make sure you download all the information before it disappears. And then finally, we do have the resource library with waste resources, an entire folder on going zero waste. Okay, so that was a quick overview, but like I said, we do have a wonderful MGS Learning Series event coming up on April 22nd, and it will take us through water, waste, and energy auditing. It is a much more advanced learning session because we're bringing in experts to talk about each of those topics and get into, fine detail. But even if you are a brand new school, if you eventually you're going to go down this measuring and tracking route, I would highly recommend coming to this series. Finally, you can always make an appointment with me via Calendly. That link is live. It's also always in my email signature. Anything that works for your schedule, even if the Calendly appointments aren't there, just email me and let me know what works. I'm extremely flexible, and I know schools are not. We have an upcoming awesome event for all of our Show Me Green Schools participants called the Annual Green Schools event. This year it's a hybrid event on April 16th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. It will be on both Zoom and in person at the Missouri History Museum here in St. Louis. We wanted to make sure we offered the Zoom option because many of our schools are nowhere near St. Louis, so we want to make sure you can still participate. If you're at Missouri Green Schools, you are able to bring a school poster, kind of like science fair style, and present some of your school sustainability initiatives. Last year, we had over 250 people attend the event, including potential partners, sponsors, lots of parents, families, students, and a lot of educators. So we really hope that you'll come out. And the best part is there's free food. Another big important date that's coming up, you still have plenty of time, but I want to make sure we always go over this at every meeting. The request for review process. This is how a Missouri Green Schools achieves a new level. So from about April, May, and June, you are kind of gathering up what you've done for the year, and you meet with me and kind of talk through it. And then you go to this lovely request for review form. It's a Google form. This is just an example of one little piece of it. And it'll ask you just some yes, no questions, a lot of check boxes, and it'll help us determine what level you will get for the upcoming school year. Our Green Schools Committee will review all of your materials that you submit, and we will announce in September which level you have achieved. And speaking of which, we will announce on September 3rd, and we will invite you guys to all come to a virtual celebration just to really get excited about what's happening across Missouri in school sustainability and to celebrate your specific achievements at your school. So please save the date for that. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, and so then we can do some Q&A if you're in the audience. Like I said, if you are watching the recorded version of this after the live version, feel free to email me any questions that you have. My email is on the screen, and I really appreciate you guys coming today and watching this webinar, and we're excited about your journey. So congrats, and we'll see you soon.